Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. So today I'm going to start a few planners. I know it's late, but this is a really simple one. I hope you'll stay tuned. So every year my dentist gives us these calendars, and I thought, you know what, it would make sense for me to show you guys how to do this with a free calendar for a change. And I know it's only $1 at the Dollar Tree, but if you get these free ones, let's go with it. So I'm going to show you how to recover one of these. Then I'm going to show you a big planner that you can make for yourself. But first, let's do this one. The easiest way to make a cover for these is to measure the length of it, the height, I guess, and it's a little bit over 6 inches. So when I cut this, I'm going to make it a little bit over 6 inches because you can always trim it. You can't make it bigger, however, so let's go with the trimming idea. Then we also are going to make it so that we know how wide it is. And I'm just going to open mine on my paper trimmer, and it's a little bit over 7 inches open. So I'm going to make mine 6 1/8 tall and 7 1/8 wide. I hope that made sense. And I'm going to use this cute little paper clip paper that I got at Michael's last year, so you won't be able to find any more. So we need to make it as far as tall. We need to make it about, I'm going to cut off, I want to cut it so that my edges are cute. So if, like on this one, I'm just cutting it so that I don't have this blank strip at the top. And then I'm going to turn it around so that that is on this side. And when I cut at 6, I'm going to make it more 6 1/4 just to be on the safe side, that we know that it's going to be cute on the top and on the bottom. So this is what it's going to look like that. And it is a lot taller, but don't worry because we can trim that down a little bit. But I wanted to make sure that these are not completely square, so I wanted to make sure that if I had an uneven edge, that I could easily trim it off. I hope that made sense for you. Then we're going to cut it about 7 1/4 across. Let me cut off this weird edge I don't like. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I don't like this, let me go a little bit further. I don't like it that my edge had something that was just kind of not fun. And then I'm going to cut it again at 7 1/4. So that is all we need to make our notebook. I think I'm going to trim a little bit off the top because it's really tall. And I can get rid of all of my white space on the top. And then we'll hold it again up to it and see how we look. See, if you look at it from this side, you can tell that we still have quite a bit of spare space. So I'm going to cut a little bit more off, this time off the bottom. And then we'll just go with it. I'm going to get a ribbon that's pink or peachy that will look cute with this because I want to have a bookmark in there. So I have chosen this. It says, I just want to stay very busy doing happy things. I thought that was really cute and sets off our front of our journal. And then I'm going to put some tear tape on it. Now I don't just like to use tear tape on these, I also like to use wet glue, and the reason is it gives you some wiggle room and it also makes it a lot sturdier. Sometimes this tear tape will let go over time, and I don't want that to happen. And I know if I put a little bit of wet glue with it, the wet glue won't make the paper waffle because I'm not using a ton of it. And it'll also make it so that I'll be sure that it'll hold up over the long term. And I'm going to put a piece right there. I'm also going to put a piece on that corner, the binding part, I guess you'd call it. Make sure you get any wrinkles out. And then I'm going to put a piece directly across my center. And another piece that's just going to go down to there. Oh, that just ripped. And then down to there. We just want to have enough on here that the whole album is really well covered, because it'll pull up. If you have, a pen or something in here, you don't want it to pull up over time, and it might. So we want to make sure that we do as much gluing as we can to prevent that from happening in the future. So I took the backing off of all of the tape on the back of my book, and I also made or put a lot of wet glue on it. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay a piece of ribbon, however long we think we need for our book. And it doesn't have to be super long. I think about that long would be good. You want it to be long enough that it's going to come out of the bottom of the book and be able to be stuck inside the book, if that makes sense. So I'm going to lay this little strip right there. Just doesn't matter if it's straight there, because no one's going to see that. That's the surprise. It's a secret. Okay. Then you're going to want to put your paper. This is the back of your book. So basically, let me open it so you can see this. So basically what you want it to do is you want to lay it right up to the edge, like that. And because I put that wet glue on there, it's going to make it so that we're not going to have any problems with realigning it. Like if I didn't have enough at the top, like right there, I don't have enough. So all we have to do is just pull it back off. Because that wet glue is there, it saves us a lot of problems. I'm putting more wet glue back on it because I want to be able to make sure that it stays well adhered. That problem was completely because this book is not even. So I'm going to try again, only this time I'm going to use the top back to line it up. The top of my cover. Does that make sense? The top of the back of my cover. Oh, come on, get off. Okay. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to try and line it up. And don't forget, my ribbon's underneath that, so that's nice and secure. I'm going to take it and make sure that my back is completely adhered. We'll probably be putting a pocket back there, but just, for in the meantime, I just thought I'd do that. Then I'm going to put my ribbon inside, just to get it out of the way, okay? Then we're going to be taking our backing off of the front of our book. Okay, so I'm going to put this wet glue, and the wet glue I'm using is called AdTech Crafters Precision Glue Fine Line, and there's a rhinestone on it that I don't know how it got there, but it's a surprise just for me, I guess. I'm going to make sure I get my corners too. And I'm going to do one strip of glue on that corner, or on the binding, we'll call it. And I'm going to push it against that piece. Really, really adhere it well. Just making sure all of my edges are glued down. We're almost done. If you wanted to just have a very simple notebook, but you know me, or planner I mean, you know me, I like to add a lot of embellishments. So then we're just going to trim off from the back. We're going to trim off the extra paper. And I would much prefer trimming off a little bit of extra paper than worrying about not having enough. And as you saw, the back cover was not straight at all. And so I had to pull the paper off once. And if I would have trimmed it to size, I would have gone, oh, okay, that's like a 7-inch by a 6-inch book. I guarantee we would not have had enough paper for those spots on the book that were a little bit uneven. Probably should have waited till this dried a little bit, but I didn't. I have a little piece there that I just need to trim off. Okay. So we have our basic book. That's the back. This is the front. And then I have this cute little saying that says, I just want to stay very busy doing happy things. Who doesn't? And I put some tear tape on it already. And now I'm just going to put some wet glue so that I can be sure that I put it on straight and on the front, because you know sometimes I put things on the back. So you want to look at your book, open it up, look at it, make sure, yep, this is the front. And then I'm just going to try and put this kind of in the center, like that. Get off any extra glue. I could have backed this with another layer, but if you want to put this in your purse, and a lot of women do carry things like this in their purse. I don't think that's completely straight, but do you think anybody will notice? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I'm going to make it straight because I am going to notice. It's going to bug me if it's not straight. I'll just change it a little bit. Anyway, I think when you have something like this that you put in your purse, you have to think about whether or not it's going to be flat or are things going to get caught on it. And if you put embellishments that are raised, you're going to have that problem. So next I want to put just a couple embellishments in the inside. Well, not embellishments. I want to put a little pocket in the inside just to put extra papers, because you know when you're doing things like this, you might as well do it right. I'm trying to see which way this goes. It goes this way. And I'm going to show you how I make my pockets. And my pockets are very simple. And I have another piece of paper that I need to cut off there. And I like to make pockets for everything I make in the line of covered notepads. So my planners are the same thing. Might as well make one. So let's make our pocket. I'm going to make a very simple pocket, and this book is 3.5 inches wide. I hope you can see that. Right there's the mark, 3.5 inches. So my paper at the most with scores should be around 4. Okay, so on this piece of paper we're going to score it on the 1/4 inch and at 3 3/4, because now we made it 4 inches. Now I'm going to cut this paper in half because I don't need it to be this big for a pocket. I'm going to actually show you how I'm going to cut this to make my bottom pocket. I like to make my pockets so that they are on an angle like this. You see that angle I'm cutting on? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my paper. I'll make it a little bit longer than that because I want to make 2 pockets out of this, so I should be able to have enough with that. Okay. Now I need to cut the bottom off this piece. This is a second folder pocket. Okay. Now this is straight up and down like this. So if I want to cut another pocket on this one, let's say I want to cut it going in the other direction, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in just a second. I'm going to just line it up in my cut line like that. You're going to line it up so that the bottom of it, you have like some pocket left on the bottom. So I'm going to cut it about like that. Woo! Missed my mark. That's good. So what I've done is I've made a pocket for the front and for the back of my book. And we have one more score we have to do, and that's a 1/4 inch on the bottom. Okay, so I've made all of my scores. We're going to get our book, and I'm going to fold. First I have to cut out the corners. When you make a little pocket like this, you have to cut out the very bottom where 2 of your score lines intersect. Just want to cut those out like that. Makes it a lot easier because you get rid of the bulk that you're going to have in there. Then we're going to fold that little bottom piece up like this. Now, if I would have scored this the right way, I would have scored it on this side, because you want to score so that your indentations that you get when you score, that you're going to be folding against those. that's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that that's not the way you do it. You think that you would fold it the opposite way, but you don't. So I'm going to fold all these in, keeping in mind that I didn't score it. I should have scored the paper on the white side of the paper. So if you're doing yours, score it on the white side. Now, when you make a pocket and you fold it in, you're going to have this little piece right there that you're going to need to snip off. So we're going to cut that off. We're going to put glue on those. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one. And the reason that you have the two pockets are slanted in different directions is when you have a pocket and you put papers in it, and okay, let's say we have this pocket on the back of the album. See how it's slanted this way? If it's slanted this way, papers that you put in it could fall out. So it makes more sense that you put one that goes this way on the back, because then the papers, if they start to fall out, they fall into the book. They don't fall out of the book. Made sense? I think it did. I hope it did. Anyway, I'm just going to use wet glue on this one, and I'm going to run a bead of glue all along the bottom. Then I'm going to lay my side pieces on top of that. And when you have these little 1/4 inch scores, it's kind of tricky to get them to lay down, and I've had tear tape that didn't hold them down. They're just kind of tricky to hold in place. What I sometimes do is I will clip them like this until they've almost dried, and I'm trying not to get glue inside them. Let me put a little bit of, I'm going to put a little clip on this. I know this is stupid, but I'm going to do it anyway. I want to hold that piece together. And I don't want to use my good clips for this because they're going to get all glued up. I'm going to hold that one in place like that. And I'm just going to let that set for just long enough that those two side pieces stick together. I hope that made sense. Sometimes I wonder if I do. Now we could do the same thing with tear tape. Tear tape will hold it, but it also has the problem of not holding it as well as you want it to sometimes. So I'm going to go with the wet glue on this one. If you have redline tape, that sometimes does a nice job of holding things, but I'm going to go with this way. And I'm going to put my, hopefully you can see that I'm putting my bottom piece on top of the side pieces. That way when you slide something in, it won't get caught up on that piece. This is on the outside. And I'm just going to, this time I'm not going to glue the whole thing. I'm going to just put glue on those side corners and put my clips on. And that way I can use my good clips. One of my viewers sent me these. It was really lovely of her. She said, I know you always use just anything you find, but I love these clips and I thought you would really like them. And I do like them, I just forget to use them, or I'm using them on something gluey like this and then I worry that I'm going to ruin them. Okay, so I've got these two glued. Let's see if I can take the glue, yeah, the clips off these, and then you can see how well those are nice and held down now. That makes sense. You want to do it like that. And then I'm going to put a little bit more glue on it. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question, and you can just answer at home and tell me what you think. Which side, which part of the book does this go on? Does it go on the front of the book or the back of the book? I'm just asking because I want to make sure that you understand why I made the slants the way I did. This one goes in the back of the book. You're right. Because when the paper starts to come out of it, it will slide into the book and not out of the book. Planner, book, whatever we're going to call it. I'm just going to put that in there like that and hold it in place for just a second to make sure. I'm also going to kind of do a little bit of bend. I don't know if you can see that bend in the center, but that gives you a little bit more of a slot to put things into. You can also reclip this to make sure that it glues in place, especially where you have those little pieces, like these little enders that you're trying to hold in place. I like to clip them down just to make sure that they're going to stay. Put that on there just for a little bit. You don't need it forever. And then we're going to do the front. I think these clips should be good. And I hadn't glued this one yet, just those edges. And then you can see again, don't forget, you always are going to have to trim off. I'm going to get that out of the way. You always have to trim off this little wee piece at the top, because otherwise it'll get in our way, and we don't like that. So we're going to put some glue on our edges. This kind of glue doesn't require a ton of it, and I don't like to put a lot on because it's going to squirt out from under the edges and make it so that our pocket won't work. You won't be able to stick anything in it. So let's see. It's still pretty wet, so we're going to have to wait a little bit to just make sure that's glued shut. This one goes on the front. Get any wet glue that you have in there, wipe it out so you don't end up with any on your finished project. And then this we're just going to put right inside our cover. I made another one this time where I lined it with a little bit of silver paper, and same thing, I put pockets in the front and the back and the bookmark inside. I hope you enjoyed these, that you'll give this a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media, because you know I love that. And I hope you make a planner, and if not this one, wait till tomorrow's. We've got another one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.